Saya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Ashtarishtarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So, dear devotees, thank you for joining. And today we're going to speak on genuine spiritual masters. But before we speak about genuine spiritual masters, we'll speak about the ones that are not so genuine. And Prabhupada very nicely elaborates this in his purport to this text. So we'll read the text now. And we'll try to say something on this verse. So here goes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There are waterfalls flowing from the hills of the forest. This is Light of the Bhagavad, text 33. There are waterfalls flowing from the hills of the forest, but sometimes water does not flow from them. So the waterfalls are not like ordinary rainfall. They are compared to great reformers who speak or do not speak as the time requires. So that's the text, and we'll just read the purport now and see what Srila Prabhupada has to say here. There are two different kinds of religious preachers. One of them is called the professional preacher, and the other is called the acharya. The professional preachers are like the rainfall from the sky, but the acharyas are like waterfalls. The professional traders in the Bhagavatam and Ramayana will speak from portions of the scripture that will appeal to the mundane senses of the audience. For example, the professional Bhagavatam reciter will generally speak on the subject of Rasa Leela, which appears to the layman to be something like dealings of ordinary men and women. Thus, the professional reciters earn money from their so-called admirers. But an acharya will never speak on Rasa Leela to the general mass of people. The Rasa Leela chapters in the Bhagavatam are the most confidential part of scripture, and they are meant for advanced students of spiritual realization. In the Bhagavatam, there are 12 cantos, and the Rasa Leela is the 10th. So before one comes to the 10th canto, the Bhagavatam tries to convince him of the transcendental nature of the absolute truth. Unless one has grasped the spiritual status of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is sure to accept him as an ordinary man and thereby commit offenses at his lotus feet by so many unwanted activities. The Acharya is he who knows the scriptures well and teaches the disciples in terms of the disciples' capacity to understand and advance in spiritual realization. Therefore, he sometimes speaks and sometimes does not. The holy messages of Godhead has to be received from the realized souls and not from the professional man. Although the rainwater and the waterfall are the same, the water from the waterfalls has a different effect than ordinary rainwater. One should not accept messages from the professional men. One should not accept milk touched by the tongue of a serpent. Milk is good, but as soon as it is touched by the snake, it becomes poisonous. The acharya, therefore, is not a mercenary or a supplier like the professional reciter of scriptures. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusde Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So dear devotees, we read the verse and the purport, and here Prabhupada is very nicely putting it, and he's giving the analogy of the milk touched by the lips of a serpent produces a poisonous effect, and thereby comparing the poisonous effect to those who preach Mayavad philosophies and philosophies that are deviant, basically. So we see that Prabhupada speaks about the professional reciters who distort the pure message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they give their own mundane interpretation. They come up with deviant philosophies and theories to suit their own sense indulgence. For example, Srila Prabhupada states in the Bhagavad Gita that there are so many editions of the Bhagavad Gita, but none could produce devotees or pure devotees even. So we'll just read something from the Bhagavad Gita where Prabhupada says that Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gita Upanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in the Vedic literature. Of course, there are so many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity of another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of the Bhagavad Gita available in English, but as far as I have seen, not only in America, but also in India, none of them can be very strictly said to be authoritative, because it's almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions and without touching the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So we see here that Prabhupada is saying that there are so many editions of the Bhagavad Gita and Vedic scriptures, but people are giving their own interpretations, and they're not touching the essence of of the scripture as to what Krishna wants to relay to us. So it's being distorted. This message is being distorted. And here Prabhupada says, again, he says, the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If you want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions on the label. We cannot take the medicines according to our own whims or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the direction on the label or the direction given by a physician. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself. The speaker of Bhagavad Gita is Lord Krishna. He is mentioned on every page of the Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, the word Bhagavan sometimes referred to any powerful person or any powerful demigod. And certainly, here Bhagavan designates Lord Shri Krishna as this great personality, but at the same time, we should know that Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all acharyas, spiritual masters, like Sankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of the Vedic knowledge in India. So we find that these spiritual masters are basically genuine. Why genuine? Because they are following in the line of disciplic succession. They may be following other sampradayas, but at least they're following in that line. And therefore, they're genuine. These spiritual masters that Prabhupada has listed out here, right? Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimarika Swami, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And we follow in the line of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Brahma Gaudiya Sampradaya. So in this way, our knowledge is bona fide, right? So we find that people who speculate, they normally try to distort the message of the Gita. And, coming to Krishna consciousness, before coming to Krishna consciousness, I've also read Bhagavad Gita by other authors, but it did nothing. It didn't touch my heart. It was just like very dry philosophy. But as soon as I touched Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, then a whole new world opened up, and I surrendered to the process of Krishna consciousness. So we can talk for ourselves, also coming from different backgrounds and different types of religious beliefs, beliefs like that. So we too can, vouch for this, that only Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita has actually produced so many disciples and is still producing devotees around the world of all nationalities, all creed, all colors, like that. So so yes, this knowledge that Prabhupada is giving is genuine, right? And we find that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the other day Maharaj was speaking about this, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.4.20, where he relates that Sankaracharya basically, he came to propagate Mayavad philosophy, but he did not touch the Bhagavatam, the purports of the Bhagavatam. He did not touch that. And we see, but Maharaj was saying that some of his students did that, and they sourced out a whole different meaning to the Bhagavatam. So we'll just read that purport, in which this is very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada. So this purport goes as follows. It's 4 Srimad Bhagavatam 3.4.20, right? Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 20. Sri Uddhava's actual life is the direct symbol of Chatushloki Bhagavatam, enunciated first to Brahmaji by the personality of Godhead. These four very great important verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam are particularly taken out by the Mayavad speculators, who construe a different purport to suit their impersonal view of monism. Here is the proper answer to such unauthorized speculators. The verse of the Bhagavatam of purely theistic science, understandable by the postgraduate student of the Bhagavad Gita. The unauthorized dry speculators are offenders at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna because they distort the purports of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam to mislead the public and prepare a direct path to the hell known as Andhata Mishra. Now, I was curious as to what is this Andhata Mishra, and I looked it up. And this hellish planet actually, is where these people go, these offenders, and who distort the message of the Bhagavad Gita. And who are basically engaged in speculation. They try to derive any and every type of meaning out of the Bhagavad Gita to suit their sense gratification, basically. So this is hellish. It's basically a very dark, Anda means dark. It's a darkish hell, very, Tamishra is basically one of the, it's in tamas, in the mode of ignorance, right? So Anda Tamishra, it's very, very dark and very, very ignorant, and it's a hellish region. So there are different hells for different people who perform different sinful activities, and some of them who perform various sinful activities go to this Andhata Mishra. And I was reading that some people who beget children out of wedlock, they go to this hell Andhata Mishra. And people engage in sense gratification and just illicit sexual activities, basically, they go to this hellish planet. And also people who try to misconstrue the meaning of the Vedas, and also atheistic people go to this planet, the Andhata Mishra hell. Atheistic people, people who don't believe in God, they go to this place. So because their philosophy is eat, drink, enjoy, and be merry, because you only live once, and use this body to the max. Enjoy your senses to the max, because you only live once, and this is what they do. They try to enjoy their senses, and then at the end of their life, they go to this Andhata Mishra hell. So also these mental speculators go there as well, and impersonalists, basically. So we'll continue with the Bhagavatam. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 16:20, such envious speculators are without knowledge and are surely condemned life after life. Right? I'll read it again. Such envious speculators are without knowledge and are surely condemned life after life. They unnecessarily take shelter of Shripad Sankaracharya, but he was not so drastic as to commit an offense at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. According to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shripad Sankaracharya preached the Mayavad philosophy for a particular purpose. Such a philosophy was necessary to defeat the Buddhist philosophy of the non-existence of the spirit soul, but it was never meant for perpetual acceptance. It was an emergency. Thus, Lord Krishna was accepted by Sankaracharya as a supreme personality of Godhead in his commentation on the Bhagavad Gita. Since he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, he did not dare write a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, because that would have been a direct offense at the lotus feet of the Lord. But later, speculators, in the name of Mayavad philosophy, unnecessarily make their commentary on the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam without any bona fide intent. So we see here how Prabhupada is basically defeating these Mayavadis who misconstrue the meaning of the text of the Bhagavatam. And we see that, Prabhupada, he has such admiration for Sankaracharya that he says that Sankaracharya came for a particular purpose, and that purpose was to to preach Mayavad philosophy in order to establish that there is a spirit soul, right? And because the Buddhist philosophy, they say that everything is void. You know, when one leaves his body, then you basically go into oblivion. Everything is void. You don't exist. So yeah. So Prabhupada says such a philosophy was necessary to defeat the Buddhist philosophy of the non-existence of the spirit soul, but it was never meant for perpetual acceptance. So it was necessary for that time, place, and circumstance, right? So we'll continue with the Bhagavatam. The monastic dry philosophers have no business in the Srimad Bhagavatam because this particular Vedic literature is forbidden for them by great authority, by the great author himself. Srila Vyasadeva was definitely forbidden. So Srila Vyasadeva has definitely forbidden persons engaged in religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and finally salvation from trying to understand Bhagavatam, which is not meant for them. Bhagavatam 112, right? Wherein this verse, Dharma Prajita Ketevatra, Paramoni Nemat Saranam Satam, that actually this Bhagavatam is not for people who are engaged in sense gratification, economic development, and religiosity, because it actually kicks out the idea of materialistic religion, right? So that's a whole class on its own. But anyway, we'll just go on with the Srila Prabhupada's purport. Sripad Sridhar Swami, the great commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, has definitely forbidden the salvationists or monists to deal in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is not for them. Yet such unauthorized persons perversely try to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, and thus they commit offenses at the feet of the Lord, which even Sripad Sankaracharya dared not to do. Thus, they prepare for their continuation of miserable life. It should be particularly noted herein that Uddhava studied the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam directly from the Lord, who spoke them first to Brahmaji, and this time the Lord explained more confidentially the self-knowledge mentioned as Paramam Shtitam. Upon hearing such self-knowledge of love, Uddhava felt very much aggrieved by feelings of separation from the Lord. Unless one is awakened to the stage of Uddhava, everlasting feelings, the separation of the Lord in transcendental love, as exhibited by Lord Chaitanya also, one cannot understand the real import of the 4 essential verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. One should not indulge in the unauthorized act of twisting the meaning and thereby putting himself on the dangerous path of offense. So here in this purport, we see how Prabhupada is so, you can see his mood. His mood is to defeat these Mayavadis and these monists, basically, who try to misconstrue the meanings of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So like Prabhupada said, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna claims that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But yet some commentators say that it is not to Krishna that we should surrender, but it is to the unborn within Krishna. So what is that? Krishna is Krishna, right? His body and he has a spiritual body. So you can say his body and his soul is the same. There's no difference between the body and the soul. Like our bodies are different from our souls, right? Our souls are encaged within this body. But for Krishna, his body is him, right? So we are not this body, but Krishna is his body, because his body is spiritual. So in this way, Prabhupada is basically saying that how can they say that we have to surrender to the unborn within Krishna, What is that? You know, there's no such thing as unborn within Krishna. If Krishna says surrender unto me, then we must surrender unto Krishna. So we see that here Prabhupada, although he is speaking about these Mayavad philosophies and these manas and these professional reciters, basically, right? He is establishing who is a genuine spiritual master. A genuine spiritual master won't misconstrue the meaning of the text. He will give it to you as it is. Like Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? And therefore, Prabhupada says that an American lady asked him to recommend a Bhagavad Gita or to, in English, because they don't, although it's written in English, they basically don't grasp anything because it doesn't make sense. But Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita makes so much of sense. So, and then Prabhupada, now we'll just end with this. Prabhupada, basically, he speaks about the professional reciters also. And he says the professional reciters, they go straight to the Rasa Leela, which is a very confidential subject, right? He says that, before going to the Rasa Leela, one should study Srimad Bhagavatam and, start with the basics, like the creation of the universe, before delving into matters beyond their level of understanding, right? So, because you cannot actually understand Rasa Leela. Rasa Leela is actually a very high subject matter. And, only pure devotees who are free from the bodily concept of life can understand this deep subject matter of the Rasa Leela of Krishna. Nobody else can actually understand it. So we are actually very blessed in ISKCON by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada, who saved us from this speculation and all these hellish theories, right? As Prabhupada says, that those who propagate these hellish theories, go to the Andatamishra hell, and they take all their followers with them as well. So we have been saved from going to this Andatamishra hell just by Srila Prabhupada's grace, by Prabhupada coming to the West and giving us the Bhagavad Gita as it is and Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So he basically came and he enlightened the whole world as to, who we are, self-realization, who we are, who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, God realization, and how to get back to the spiritual world, right? So we should tread very carefully on this path, on the spiritual path, because there are many thorns, and we could get pricked, and we could deviate also from this path of Krishna consciousness. So we should be very, very careful. Always keep association of devotees, of basically exalted devotees, and who are following Srila Prabhupada and his mission, and in this way we can be safeguarded from all these deviant philosophies out there, right? And safeguarded from going to hell. So with that, I'd like to stop and ask your opinions and your basically your realizations, and if you have any questions, you're most welcome to post them now. Hare Krishna. Anyone? Who do we have here? Charmaine, anything?
Hare Krishna devotees. We were talking about like Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, and how it is an offense, you know. But then Srimad Bhagavatam is also Srimad Bhagavatam is also the Lord. Okay. So anything Srimad Bhagavatam is like the Lord, and the Lord can't be contaminated. Okay. So I was just wondering about that there.
Yes, the Lord cannot be contaminated because he's, you know, Om Purnamadha Purnamidam. He's pure, you know, and he's pure and complete. So he cannot become contaminated by anything. So what's your question?
Even those people that like read Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, I'm talking about devotees that read Srimad Bhagavatam and they sort of deviate or fall, you know, and all of that. There is a spiritual benefit for them. Yes.
If they read Srila Prabhupada's purport, Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, then they won't fall down. But, you know, if there is some fall down, they will pick themselves up again and come back to Krishna consciousness at some point in their lives. So there is no, you know,
Lots.
in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that from wherever, you know, you have, wherever you have finished off your spiritual life, in your next life, you will take off from there, you know. So, yeah, so they will still reap the benefit of that.
Right.
But I'm talking about the deviant philosophies, you know. Bhagavatam was also commented, there's a commentary by the monist or by the impersonalists, and if they read that Bhagavatam, then, you know, they will be inclined to follow those teachings, and then that will actually take them to the hellish regions. But if they're innocent at heart and Krishna is within the heart, he knows, you know, each devotee's heart and each person's heart. So, you know, he will guide them to the right path.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sarika Mataji, anything? You can unmute and speak. Sadhika Mataji. If not, we can have Nayana Manjari.
Hare Krishna Mataji, dear devotees. Thank you very much for a very interesting class today, Mataji. It's not actually a question, but I'd like to ask Mataji for all the Mayavadis who actually call all the demigods Bhagavan. I mean, Bhagavan is actually for Krishna, exclusively for Krishna. And they're going to make all the demigods Bhagavan. Now, is that a big offense that they're committing, or what is that, Mataji? Please, can you explain?
Well, Prabhupada in this purport, he said that, you know, sometimes exalted demigods are called Bhagavan. You know, this, like Lord Shiva especially, he's called Bhagavan because, you know, he, in one sense, he is Krishna and he's not Krishna. You know, that Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, that he, you know, milk, you know, when it is, when a souring agent is put in it, then it's turned into curd. So, you know, Krishna is milk and Lord Shiva is like curd. So in that way, you know, or yogurt. So in that way, it's not an offense to call, you know, to address someone as Bhagavan, because even, you know, like Hiranyakashipu is basically addressed as Shri Hiranyakashipu in the Bhagavatam. And, you know, this was like, we were taken aback when we were reading that chapter, Shri Hiranyakashipu. You know, we were taken aback, but for some reason, they have actually addressed him like that. So, yeah, sometimes the demigods are called Bhagavan, but they're not meant to be taken as Bhagavan. They may be addressed as such, but they're not meant to be taken as the supreme personality of Godhead, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna again he states that the demigods are basically his part and parcels, and those who worship the demigods, they go to the planets of the demigods, right? And those who worship him will come to him. So so they're not the demigods are not meant to be worshipped as Bhagavan, but they can be addressed as Bhagavan. There's a difference by worshipping someone as Bhagavan and just addressing someone. Yeah. So.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. I understand now. Haribol.
Haribol. Thank you for your question, Naina Manjari. Bhaktin Kadruta, anything?
Hare Krishna, dear Mataji and dear devotees. I have a special question. Just realization, very beautiful class. And what I understand to avoid Mayavadis because they are impersonal. And of course, can't enter in Bhagavan, can't understand Bhagavan, just merge into Brahma Jyoti. And we have to follow, hearing, and teach just from spiritual master, from the chain of the spiritual masters, and to understand Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam as they are. And of course, spiritual master is the represent of Krishna here in our world, and we have to follow step by step everything and not disobey his orders. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna. Thank you, Kadruta. Kadruta is one of the students in our Bhakti Vaibhav's classes, and she's doing very well, actually. Kadruta, you're doing very well in studying Srimad Bhagavatam, right? That's a very high postgraduate study of the scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So thank you, Kadruta Mataji. Paramatma Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. Maharaj, as you said, Srila Prabhupada, through his books and he's representing disciplic succession. So while the books are available, we take advantage and go back home, back to Godhead. But Maharaj, I also wanted to ask you, now what happens to Srila Prabhupada's, through the GBC, they've got gurus. Are they also considered bona fide, genuine spiritual masters?
Yes. So all those who are following in the line of Srila Prabhupada and, ISKCON basically, following in the line of Guru Parampara are all bona fide. And as I mentioned from the Bhagavad Gita, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, they may be from other sampradayas, but because they're following in their disciplic succession, then they're also bona fide. And so all those in our line, like the 6 Goswamis and the Guru Parampara, basically, we find on our altar, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like that. So all these acharyas are basically coming in the line of the disciplic succession from the messages coming down from Krishna firsthand to disciple to guru to disciple. So from guru to disciple all the way down as it's coming to Srila Prabhupada, and then it's coming to us. So we also fall in that category of genuine spiritual masters because we are preaching to some degree or the other, like giving out Srila Prabhupada's books. That is the biggest preaching, to give out Srila Prabhupada's books and to make other devotees basically. So in this way, yes, because Prabhupada is a genuine spiritual master, then we are distributing his literatures. So so that makes us bona fide as well. So thank you so much, Paramatma Prabhu. So
Thank you, Balaji. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else would like to say anything? If not, we could have a short kirtan and end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha 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 Radhe, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jai Giri Govardhan, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Prabhupada ki jai, Gopramanande, Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyaischa kripasindhubhyavcha patitanam pavanibho Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Mataji devotees.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Maji,
Hare
thank you.
Krishna, Danda Pranam, Hari Bol.
Haribo.